Have you ever heard of a for-profit prison?
No, I've not heard of a for-profit prison.
No.
No, not really.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard of a private prison.
No, I haven't.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
No, I can't say I have.
No.
I have not.
No. No.
No.
No, I haven't. No.
No, I have not.
The for-profit prison industry has grown in size and power while remaining in relative obscurity. These companies are making a combined $3.3 billion in annual revenue and are funneling millions of it to candidates and millions more into lobbying efforts. Despite all this money, the vast majority of Americans fail to even recognize the term. This has caused the Washington Post to call the industry the biggest lobby no one is talking about. Recently, questions have been raised about the industry's treatment of prisoners and whether or not the mostly non-violent offenders that make up the majority of these prisons' populations deserve to be incarcerated at all. When the justice system is turned over to these corporations, they do what any other corporation does, and they try and increase their profits any way they can. They make money through huge government contracts that pay per prisoner, so they benefit from having more people in prison longer. These contracts also include lockup quotas that often guarantee 90 to 100% occupancy and force the government to either pay for empty beds or scramble to arrest enough people to fill them. The industry has spent millions getting legislation through Congress using politicians such as current Florida Senator and Republican presidential candidate Marco Rubio. Some of the laws they support include California's controversial 3 strikes law and the Arizona anti-illegal immigration law that sparked a huge racial profiling battle. The CCA, which operates this prison behind me, has openly stated that leniency in conviction or parole standards would hurt their bottom line. In a recent scandal the media has called Cash for Kids, a Pennsylvania judge has been sentenced to 28 years in prison for accepting bribes from a private prison company to give juvenile delinquents unusually long sentences. These companies obviously benefit too much from criminal punishment.
I would think the most important issue with a for-profit prison is if you've got a system of business that's based on nothing but the incarceration of human beings, American citizens, then the focus is not going to be on rehabilitation, but how can I stack as many people as possible into that prison?
Well, number one, where are they getting the money from? And
The government,
okay, well, where's the government getting the money from?
the taxpayer.
So my money.
Yes, it is your money.
Okay, so I have an issue with that. Number one, potential problems, the ethical standards for it. For profit, it's the same thing, the reason why McDonald's has a dollar menu. You bring people in, you entice them to come in, or any store that has a sale. You bring them in, you try and keep them in there as long as possible so they spend the most amount of money.
It just seems like you're throwing random people in jail just so you can make more money.
Yes, I mean, it puts more power in the hands of corporations.
I think for-profit prisons really just open up corruption at all the levels in the prison, in the government, and it's just not good for our society as a whole. Prisons should be run for the benefit of society rather than for-profit, because their real purpose is to make the people who committed crimes, who were bad people, and turn them back into people that can function in society. And for-profit prisons don't do that.
My name is Chris Golden. I teach criminal justice here at T.C. Williams High School now. Before this job, I was employed as a deputy sheriff in Alexandria from September of 1988 until December of 1994.
What are some potential concerns you have with for-profit versus regular?
I think the issue with for-profit facilities is that those prisons are run by a chief executive officer or a person whose highest priority is going to be to please the stakeholders and the stockholders, the shareholders. Our local jails in the state of Virginia are run by sheriffs who are publicly elected officials, and if they want to be reelected in the next term, then they know they have to answer to the public. I don't see that being the case with for-profit prisons, and I just believe that the opportunity to exploit and to take advantage of and to do real harm to the people on the inside is greater in a for-profit institution than one that is run by the government.
I'm Andrew Rozelle and I teach AP Government.
What are some big concerns with for-profit prisons?
I would say that the biggest concern with for-profit prisons is that it creates some perverse incentives as far as the number of people that are getting locked up, the length at which they're getting locked up in prison, and then some of the decisions that they're making as far as the way that we treat people that are in prison. It's not well known, but what you'll find is that some of the owners of the largest for-profit prisons do a lot of lobbying, that they are spending millions of dollars each year to convince members of Congress or state legislatures to pass policies as far as minimum sentencing laws to make sure that more people are ending up in prison.
What do you think the public should know about these?
As far as what the public should know, I think just being aware, I think it is starting to make it on the policy agenda a little bit in this country. Some specific members of Congress are starting to raise this issue. I know Orange is the New Black, for example, just brought this topic up in the last season, and I think a lot of Americans were watching that for, comedic value or entertainment value, and learned a little bit about, some of the problems associated with these policies.
Kids are meant to sleep on cement beds. They're treated like animals. They're made to feel like they are not humans. A detainee had come to her and showed her the food that they were eating, and when the food opened up in a napkin in this person's hand, there were live maggots.
I am shocked to hear the consistency among different facilities we talked about today.
You may be wondering why anyone would support the idea of a for-profit prison. The answer is that prisoners are expensive. More money is being spent per prisoner than per student in every state. These companies market themselves as a cheaper and more efficient alternative to government-run prisons, and in some cases this might be true. However, studies have called this claim at best inconclusive. According to a U.S. Bureau of Justice Statistics study, the promised cost savings have simply not materialized. And even if this approach is cheaper, what is the moral cost of keeping these facilities open?